What what would you do if a mobster killed your sister? That's the question this 1937 film starring Humphrey Bogart and Bette Davis asks. Welcome to Bette Davis Eyes, the series where I watch all of Bette Davis's films on the way to becoming the most prolific reviewer of all time. The plot of this movie is simple. Vanning, a monster played by Eduardo Cianelli, takes over a nightclub. He says, from now on it's going to be a clip joint, which, if you don't know what that is, welcome to the club because I didn't as well. This is what a clip joint is. A clip joint is an establishment, usually a strip club or a nightclub, often claiming to offer adult entertainment or bottle service, in which customers are tricked into paying far above market prices for low-grade goods or services, or sometimes nothing in return. So basically, the idea is that the ladies are going to scam customers and pocket most of what they scam in return for giving the mafia a cut. Bette Davis plays Mary, who stands up to her new boss and mentions to him directly that she doesn't want to end up murdered like some of his other girlfriends. A few days later, a Mark goes into the club and spends money he doesn't have. Mary helps him to flee, but not successfully, as he's found murdered the next day. Because Mary's number is written in his matchbook, she becomes suspect number one. Vanning pressures her to give misleading testimony, which will result in the case being thrown out. This is where we meet Bogart, who is playing District Attorney David Graham, who is loosely based on Thomas E. Dewey, and I'll tell you more about that later. The case gets thrown out. This causes Mary's sister Betty to drop out of school in shame and to try and get a foot in the door at the club by attending a party. She meets a guy named Eddie and goes back to the apartment where Mary is staying. Mary has a fit and yells at her like only a sister could, and Betty returns to the party. But only Eddie is there, and he wants a bit more than Betty is willing to give. And when she tries to run away, she's stopped by Vanning, who slaps her across the face, causing her to fall down the stairs and die. The next day, Mary searches for her sister and confronts Vanning and says she'll go to the police. Vanning, of course, doesn't like this and sends his thugs to her apartment, and they beat her up, nearly killing her. As she's recuperating at the hospital, D.A. Graham arrives, and the girls agree to testify against Vanning, who is eventually convicted. Indeed. There's a number of interesting things about this movie. The first is that this was the first film that Davis made after an unsuccessful attempt to sue Warner Brothers to get out of her contract, the primary reason being that she felt she wasn't being offered any interesting scripts. And if you look at her roles previous to this film, only a few stand out, like Petrified Forest, Dangerous, and Of Human Bondage. So you can see why she would want more interesting roles. The next interesting thing is that in the hospital scene, she felt that she wasn't being bandaged in a realistic manner. So she went to her doctor and she explained what her injuries were in the film, in the script. And the doctor bandaged her according to what would really be the practice at the time. And so she went back to the set and everybody was like, "Oh, are you injured?" So she did a great job there. The last is that, as I said, this film is loosely based on the career of Thomas E. Dewey, who brought down Lucky Luciano, the famous gangster from the 30s, because of a prostitution ring he was running. Some of the prostitutes were convinced to testify against him. The censorship board thought that portraying prostitution was unacceptable on film, so they changed the career of the girls in the movie from prostitutes to hostesses. So close, but not quite the same. So, is the movie actually any good? While some of Bette Davis's performance is excellent in this film, especially the parts where she's talking with her sister, and after she gets beaten up, she plays a sort of subtle resilience really well. It does have a lot of overacting, which works great in some of her films, but not in this one. I also think Bogart's performance feels a little wooden, which is odd after seeing him chew up the scenery in The Petrified Forest. In fact, I think that's a much better film, a much better performance from both of them. So if you want to see a movie starring Bogart and Davis, you should check that out. Cianelli is chilling as the gangster Vanning, though. So all in all, I think this is an average movie from the 1930s, which I think you can skip unless like me, you want to watch all of Bette Davis's films. Right, so that's my review. I'm trying to become the most prolific reviewer of all time. If you want to help me do that, you can subscribe to the channel, you can leave comments, all of those things help the algorithm. You can also leave suggestions for what movie I should review. Next, I've gotten a lot of great suggestions about Bette Davis films. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.